we got the Phillips screws holding the rotors on it. We're going to take these off with the impact driver. And we got two 14mm bolts holding the caliper on, and then two 14s that are holding the bracket for the brake pads in the back. In one of them, you can't get a ratchet in on this one, so we're going to use a gear wrench for that one. So we'll start cracking stuff loose with this 14 right now. And I'll crack the caliper bracket loose. Right there. I'm gonna grab the bottom one here. I'm just gonna crack these loose for now. Yeah, we got our 14 gear wrench here. Get this bottom bolt right here off. All right, so we're gonna, same thing as the front, we're gonna slide the caliper back a little bit and we're gonna collapse the piston. These don't have retractable pistons, so it's just nice, they just collapse back like the normal ones in the front. And we got a little bar here. I'm just gonna roll this back a little bit and get our tool in here. Now, I'm going to flip this one up on the top, and we talked about using the vice grips to finish collapsing this. So we're going to use these and stick these in here. And you're just gently depressing on this to have the piston go in. And you'll feel it when it bottoms, and that's it. And we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other one. We're going to lube our caliper. We're going to lube this around here so that we make sure this is all greased up, and with caliper pin lube to keep the boot moist. And we can just sit the caliper up here out of the way for right now. And we cracked our bolts loose. We're ready for the bracket. So let's start taking these off. These two off here. We're going to lubricate these. The washer stayed on here, so I'll get that off. And we're going to clean these up and then never seize these. You can pry the caliper bracket off. See, the springs have kind of fallen off these now. These are a little tricky, so you can take them off now. And then we pry this bar back. And we're going to go put this on the bench and just sit this there. We'll come back and we'll load up everything on the brake pads on the bench right now, lube our caliper pins. Then we come back, we're going to take the rotor off, and we'll use the impact driver to take these off and take the rotor off. And there is emergency brake shoes on the inside in here, so we're going to have to adjust this new rotor so you have a little drag on your brake drum so your pedal feels good. It's normally pretty close when you put it on, but you're probably going to get maybe 2, maybe 3 clicks with the self-adjuster. And then if you feel a little drag on the rotor, you know it's comfortable, and we'll go over that. So let's go get our caliper set up, our brake pads set up in the pad bracket. Okay, we're going to knock the brake pads down. And that should knock the other one out here. And like the rear, like the fronts that we did, we got these little retaining clips here. We're going to pop these off. And our brake pad, this brake pad here went like this. This is the one with the tab for the wear tab, and that's going to fit in like this. So we keep that to this side right here. Now our brake caliper, brake bar, if you will, we take our little file, and we were always talking about filing these down to make sure that they're clean, because that takes up space on the clips and makes your brake pads tight when you go to put them in. So you spend a few minutes cleaning all this stuff up, it makes it go together a lot simpler. simpler and easier, and you don't have to fight the brake pads. Over time, these things will rust and swell up, and then that's what makes it difficult to get the brake pads on. So I'm going to make sure we spend a couple of seconds here filing these up. They feel pretty smooth. And do this one. As long as you start seeing some clean metal, you know you're getting it done right. Okay, feels pretty good there. So we can take our clips now. Clips have these little mounting tabs in here. These are kind of tight to tap down, or try and just push them down with your finger. So I'm finding it that I'm kind of pushing them down as much as I can, but I'm taking a little hammer, just tapping them down, just to make sure. You gotta make sure that this is flat. Now this is not down all the way. See the space we got here? We got to get this down more. Okay, that's tight. That's tight there. That's tight there. Let's get the other side in. A lot of times you can just push these in with your thumbs. See, these are a little difficult. That's tight, that's tight. That looks good. Okay, so we have to lube our caliper pins now. Remember, there's always one caliper pin that has a pin on it, a rubber grommet on the bottom of it, and it's not this one, so it's got to be the other one. And that's for like a vibration issue. So, get some caliper pin lube on this. No, this one doesn't have one either. Just the fronts have it. So build this all up with grease. And slide it in so the boot locks. Okay, now we're going to lubricate our slides, and then we have to put our pads in. Okay, we're all lubed up there. Now let's get our pads in. Clean your hands really good. We've got our sandpaper ready in case we get our paw prints on them, which we probably will. This pad's going to go in like this. And if you can put them in sideways and roll them, fantastic. Doesn't always work out. Don't want it to pop out like that. Okay, we got them in and we keep them close to the edge. And I don't really have any paw prints on this to speak about, so. Okay, let's get this one on now. Okay, we got them just started on the edge right there. And this one we're going to slide back a whisker. Okay, the rotor's not that wide, so we'll be it'll be okay, but I'm gonna get my paw prints off this thing right now. Okay, all right, so this is set to go on, and let's get our rotor clean now. Tony got the coated rotors. It's a nice. You gotta spray a little brake clean on them. Get the little oil residue on them that they put on them. When you flip this one over, remember, your parking brake shoes are in here. So you gotta do the inside as well, right here. Now we're going to go pull the other rotor off, okay? Show you how to do that, and then we have to make an adjustment. This emergency brake adjustment. We'll show you how to do that, and let's go pull that rotor off.
And okay.
All right, we got the slide hammer here. Impact driver, pardon me. Okay, so we're going to take these off now. And this is our little plug for our emergency brake adjustment, which is right here, this rubber plug. It's a little easier to take it off once you get this off. And then we get this off, we're going to never seize the hub, so the rotor doesn't get seized on there the next time. Because Tony's going to keep this car forever.
But there, right? It's my wife's car.
Okay. Give it a little shock. Okay, now we talked about this little plug here, and we can just push it out with our thumb now. We'll put this in after. All right, so here's our self-adjuster right down here, and we're going to line this up when we put the wheel in here. We're going to run the screwdriver down through here and crank this up. Our brake shoes look good. Our emergency brake shoes are good. Doing an inspection, make sure your springs are all intact. Emergency brake, your self-adjuster here with the spring is intact. The shoes aren't loose. These pads are only bonded on. If these can fall off, now you look at these brake shoes and you say, oh man, they look kind of thin. They're not thick like normal brake shoes would be on an older car. You buy them new and they're paper thin, so there's not a lot there. And if you look at the inside of the rotor here, Tony's wife hasn't really used her emergency brake very often, so that's why they stay in good condition. So let's go. Our rotor is all cleaned up. All we have to do now is we're going to never seize our hub here, so that the rotor doesn't get seized on here the next time someone goes to change it. We're going to get all our bolts never seized, and we'll come back to you when we're putting the rotor on. Okay. All right, so we got everything lubed up, all our bolts and everything. We're going to line our rotor up with the hole for the stud here. And we have our down at 12 o'clock position is, pardon me, 6 o'clock position is a self-adjuster. And I'm going to get the little small screwdriver and adjust that. All right, so I can't hear the shoes dragging at all right now. I want to hear at least a little bit. So I feed this in here, and by feel, I'm trying to find the self-adjuster. And I know it's at 12 o'clock somewhere in here. So, at 6 o'clock, pardon me. got it right here. Now I could tighten it up, and now I can't turn it, okay? So that's too tight. So now I'm gonna come back and back it off like 3 turns. I don't know if you can hear that, but I hear a little bit of drag on the shoe. That's all I want, is just a whisker of drag on the shoe. I don't want a lot on it, because I don't want it to heat up and then start grabbing the emergency brake shoes. But I want to hear a little something so that when you go and pull on the emergency brake, it's right there, okay? So this one's adjusted up properly. We can take our little rubber plug, just pop that back in there. I can put my 2 screws in. You know, this is a fairly easy job to do. It's nice that the caliper piston doesn't have a screw type piston, it just retracts. You can collapse it back gently. Can you get down tight? All right, now we have our brake bar with our brake pads. I'm gonna go grab it. It's all set up to go. We got our bolts all ready to go. So we're gonna slip that on and we'll be right back. All right, so we got our clips, but we're not putting them on yet. We're gonna sit the brake bar, caliper bar back in place. Grab one of our bolts there. We have our shoes really spaced out nice. Our brake pads, pardon me. So now listen, I just pushed them in. Now they're all locked in place. I'm gonna line up my bolts down here. Okay, let's tighten these up. These are both 14 millimeters. Okay, like that. Okay, those are tight. Now we've already lubed up our, nope we didn't, we're going to lube that right now. Lube up our caliper piston, but we want the boot to be moist, because this stuff dries out because of the heat. And if this boot cracks, you'll get dirt in there, and that's the shortens the life of that. Just put a little lube on this side here. Now the clips. These 2 little clips are what spreads the shoes after you step on the brake. These try and spread the shoes out. So you get one that goes on the bottom here. Tony can get the light in, I can see the hole here.
These are a lot of fun. Right, Steve?
Yeah. Okay, you get them in like that. Now they taper in. There's a little taper that keeps them pushed out like this. You gotta just keep them like this. So as we're sliding the caliper on, we want to make sure the hose isn't twisted on the caliper. It's going to push down on these clips. You can see the clips moving. Catch a bolt. Catch another one here. Now I got to push down on this. Okay, you can see our little clips in here pushing on the caliper. And that's what's spreading the shoes and keeping the shoes tight so there's no rattling of the shoes. The flex hose isn't kinked. We made sure we got that on the right way. Okay, we can tighten these up with the gear wrench. Sometimes you just put your thumb against the top one. You're probably gonna put a wrench on that to hold it. This one we didn't have to. All right, that was caught. You can put a wrench on this to hold it if you need to. And we didn't need to. So we have our brake adjustment down on the rotor. So you could just hear the emergency brake shoes just dragging just a whisker. And then we had our caliper. We showed you how to put the caliper together with the brake pads, lubricate everything. We put our plug back in. We tightened down our screws for the rotor. Everything is tight. We're gonna pump up the brakes right now, and then we'll go over to the other side and do the same thing. And it's the same procedure on the other side. And that'll finish it up.